Hey everyone, I just want to thank everyone for joining today. Datava is one of our preferred partners. The product that Gordon's going to show you today, I think you guys are going to, like and it's going to be beneficial to you to take a look at. I'm Bud Christel. I'm with the vendor relations team at Corelation. My role pretty much is to work with our preferred partners and our client base to get their products installed and educate our clients on what products are available to them. If if you have any questions or comments after this webinar, please reach out to me via. You can reach out to your CRM who can get to me, or you can reach out to B Cristello, Cristell at correlationinc.com. So please, again, thank you for joining, and I'm going to hand it over to Gordon.
Sweet. Thanks, Bud. I appreciate it. And definitely appreciate everybody over there at Corelation. You all have been great partners to us over the past couple years, and we've got a lot of really great clients on Corelation already. So definitely looking forward to just being able to show what we're doing for some of our Corelation clients, as well as what we're doing in general. So, first thing first, we're going to be talking about data activation today. And with the idea of data activation and how we're specifically doing that with our data activation platform, I want to explain why data is so important. Recently in a podcast interview, Elon Musk explained that, kind of the magic of AI, what everybody's obsessed with right now, AI actually isn't the true innovation. What has been the innovation that's allowed AI to work is the data that underlie the LLM engines and the other AI engines. And so that really ends up being kind of the secret sauce behind ChatGPT, any of the other really cool models that you've seen. And the issue with that is both the blessing and the curse for credit unions is credit unions really do have more data on their members that are good data than effectively any other source. Ann Legg, who's kind of a forward thinker in this, has a quote that I really like to cite, and that is that credit unions have more data than Amazon, but it's broken out between a lot of different systems. Over on the right, you can see this is just a sample vendor map for a small to medium-sized credit union. And you can see it's broken out all over the place. So going back to that theory of how do you take all of this data where you literally have things that are worth more than gold to your members, to your staff, to the credit union in general, how do you take that and really activate it? And the process of data activation is a very complex one. The first step is you have to wrangle all of that data together from your core, from your LOSs, from your phone system, survey, online banking, all of these different pieces. And a lot of people think if I do that, that's good enough, but that's literally just step one. Then you have to do some level of cleansing, normalization, and curation of that data. Once you've done those two steps, then you really can turn it over to your LLMs or your other machine learning AI models and those different kinds of metrics. So there's descriptive, prescriptive, and predictive. And each one of those has a different place where they can do different things for you in your analytics. And really what you want to have is a very targeted analytic structure in these different areas, whether that's answering the right questions or answering questions that maybe you didn't even know that you should be asking. Once you have that, now we're into the question of activation. A lot of financial institutions think that they've done the heavy lift purely by just getting to the step of analytics. But that often, in my experience, results in maybe just 2 or 3 data geeks in some back room that have a lot of really cool reports, but no way to get it to the right person at the right time. And so that's when you then get to the delivery question. So delivering that information to your call center, to your branches, to your tellers, to the executive team, to marketing, all of these different places within your organization. And then you want to actually start looking at not just delivering the information, but facilitating action. So that's process automation, opportunity automation, things like onboarding, referral management, problem resolution. These are all different use cases. So this is the theory of activation. The problem with that is activation often fails as a project. And these are the top reasons why. Integration ends up being one of the biggest reasons, because historically what it would be is I would buy different platforms for each one of these pieces in that data activation process. And then I have the big step of making sure that they'll even talk with each other. Functionality ends up being a really big problem as well. These have the end implication of end user adoption, which is literally the biggest problem with any data activation plan, is how do I make sure that it's actually going to be used by the people on the front end that are effectively in the trenches day to day with the members, with prospects, on how to make sure that it's being most used. Data importing from those different places, customization and cost all end up being factored into that as well. And then the other issue is historically what you had to do to solve this problem is I would buy a different platform for each one of these solutions. So I would buy something to do data warehouse, something else to do BI, something else to do problem resolution. And it literally just makes the problem worse. And this is where Datava comes into things, is we solve all of this. So if you've got certain pieces of those already in place, then you can use those specific pieces. But what we can be is that holistic, complete solution that will take all of your data, we wrangle it across all of the different systems that you have, and we will centralize it so that you can get access to it for each one of your different groups within your organization and then deliver it to them. Just briefly a little bit about me as I talk about kind of the paradigm and why we exist. I've spent my whole professional career working with financial institutions. That's going back almost 24 years now. And what I used to do is I would work for a couple different consulting firms, and they would come in and they would do sales training, operational improvement analysis, Six Sigma, all of that kind of fun stuff. But I wasn't in charge of that. What I would do is I would come in and try to help the institution either use the software they had or go find software, or worst case scenario, build software. And what I would consistently find over the first 16 years that I was in this world is there just weren't really good solutions. And there was kind of a paradigm where you would either have to go buy something out of the box and change what you were doing as a credit union to fit what the software allowed you to do, or you would have to build something in-house. And the reason why we started Datava is we realized that you really needed something in between to achieve true data activation. You needed something that was very highly configurable so that it had a lot of the benefits that you were typically needing to get by building something in-house. But then you also needed something that was very rapid to be able to be deployed, that you would get the benefits of the out-of-the-box solutions. And so what you'll find from our platform as I go through the demo and show a bunch of different use cases, and hopefully this will generate some good discussion at the end, is the understanding of how this can be deployed specifically for your institution, for your specific use cases, where you're going to get kind of those 4 key criteria that you should be looking for from any kind of software purchase, and honestly, almost any kind of strategy. And that is improving your ROI, improving your member satisfaction, improving employee effectiveness, and de-risking the organization. So those are kind of the 2 sides. But the third piece that really ends up being vital in that Goldilocks criteria ends up being who's going to actually make sure that the platform does what it's supposed to do. Because that's a lot of the times, if you remember, where software projects will fail, is you will buy something and it theoretically can do what you need it to do. But if it's incumbent on the credit union to have the internal knowledge and the internal expertise to achieve that, it can often fail. And what we've done here at Datava is we've really been able to prove that out. And so I'll just cite a few use cases of that. For one launch credit union that's a Corelation client, we fully automated their goal and incentive process. And by that, we were able to eliminate 60 manual days of work a year across their VP and branch managers and their frontline staff. Beyond that, we are able to not just take away that manual cost, but we're able to get much faster real-time updates to their frontline staff of exactly what's going on. Another really strong use case is American Heritage Credit Union. We were able to deploy our platform to their indirect lending team. and they saw a 200% increase in indirect loans. We deployed this to their seg management team, and they saw a 30% increase in loans and deposits being sourced through their segs and that penetration. And overall, we were able to contribute through addressing different needs within their credit union a $1 billion growth in 2 years. The last example I have here is People First, another Corelation client, where we were able to automate their onboarding as well as their referral process. And from that, we were able to source 180 new loans and 130 additional deposit products just within the first 6 months of getting that delivered to them. We are very, very much focused on being different than a lot of other software companies in a lot of different ways. And because of that, we've got 100% client retention across all of our clients. We started QSO in 2020, and we've been very much focused on providing value and usefulness to each one of our clients. We really view ourselves as hopefully enabling credit unions to do what the mission is of credit unions, to not take advantage that a lot of banks do and view them as customers, but credit unions are supposed to view their people as members and participate in that interaction in a beneficial way, and that's very much the way that we at Datava have worked since we've started. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump over and I'm going to start doing a lot of different kind of demos and show a lot of different use cases and really kind of try to flex the muscle of our platform. So what I'm going to do is there are a lot of different use cases I'm going to go through. Please feel free to utilize Q&A and chat. I've got a few people from my team in there, and they'll hopefully be able to respond to those. And then also at the end, it'll be opened up for a little bit of a Q&A to have more of a discussion within that as well. So the first thing, when you log into our platform, and I just want to highlight something, you can see I've got a lot of different tabs over here. And what those tabs are going to show you are the different end use cases, depending on the specific title. Because one of the biggest things that you're going to run into with any kind of end user adoption is making sure that people only get access to the information that is useful and usable to them. Nothing more, nothing less. An MSR is going to have a very different experience utilizing our platform versus somebody in the call center, versus somebody in the branches, versus your executive team. So the first thing that I'm going to be showing you is something for the executives. And again, I'm going to be very much a broken record during this demo, and I'll be very much a broken record after. All of this is going to be very highly configurable to your organization. I have never deployed the exact same dashboard from one organization to another when it has to do with something like this for what your executive team, what your board, even what your department heads care about, because each credit union is a little bit different. You're focusing on different things, you have a different culture, and you want to be sensitive of that. And so we have a lot of capability on how we're able to rapidly deploy these. But something like this is an example with our strong relationship with Corelation. We can get a dashboard out to you like this in usually a month or less from contract signing. So again, just to orient you, this is an example of all of the KPIs that your executive team might care about. So I've got my deposit portfolio, my consumer, commercial loan, mortgage. I've got attributes of my members. So average age, I think, ends up being kind of a concern that we're hearing a lot about right now. Service utilization, what do my fees specifically look like? But the way that Datava deals with your data is we're pulling in all of the raw data. We're pulling in the raw feeds from Corelation, from your LOSs, from your digital banking platform, from all of these different systems. We are normalizing it inside of our platform. We're building the aggregates and then the dashboards up off of that. And so what that really does is if I'm looking at something like these new deposit accounts and I want to really dive in deeper to understand them more, I get a lot of really cool functionality. So let's say I wanted to see how those are necessarily breaking down within the credit union. I can look at a specific region, I can look at a specific branch, and I can see which employees are greatest contributing to that. And once I'm here in the hierarchy viewer, I can do that with all sorts of other capabilities. So let's say instead of February, I wanted to go look at that same information for January. And so I can go back and see how that breaks down over a different period of time. Or let's say that I wanted to also look at how my number of loans are breaking down within the organization. I can get that same access and that same capability to be able to analyze that directly from here. Again, to go back to this same dashboard, let's say I also wanted to understand it historically. So I can see the trend of my new deposits and see how that's broken down. And again, if I open this side panel, I can do a lot of really cool things where, let's say I wanted to see how a specific branch or a specific region was contributing to that. I can look at how they are contributing to that overall number and that overall metric as a total. And if I wanted to, let's say, I wanted to look at this for a stacked area instead, and we'll take out the institution. So I can see how much of that is being contributed by one set of branches versus another set of branches. And let's say that I also, again, wanted to look at how my number of loans are specifically contributing to that as well. So I can really play around with these numbers to be able to understand what's taking place within the credit union. So this is just a great visual way to see, as an example, like April 2020, maybe there was just like, I don't know, some catastrophic black swan event that really took everything down, but I can still see overall things are generally trending up across both my loans and deposits. The other last thing that I can do is I can not just understand it hierarchically, I can not just understand it historically, but I can also drill down to the underlying data that are informing it. And again, this is really the power of our data activation platform is I don't have to just look at some end report, because the fact is if that report is wrong, because the underlying data that are informing it are wrong, it's worse than me actually having that end report or that dashboard. And so at any point in time, I can look at an end metric and drill down to the underlying data that are informing it. But what's really cool is not just do I get access to that, but once I'm here, I can do my own kind of filtering and deeper level of analysis. So let's say that I've got, like this 26-month term share that we were specifically running. I wanted to see how many of those new deposit products that we brought in last month were specifically that exact kind of special CD. So I can see that there were 9 total within that. And so I can go in and really be able to do my own kind of analysis. Or let's say I wanted to see how many of those original deposits were above $20,000. So I can really go in and be able to play around with these numbers to understand everything that's taking place within my credit union to have that broken down. And I can even do my own on-the-fly categorizations as well. So let's say that I wanted to actually look at my branches and see which branches were sourcing these deposits that were above $20,000. And let's say that I wanted to understand the total across all of them. So what I can do is I can do my sum and literally be able to, just with a couple clicks, I don't need to go to IT, I don't need to go to anybody else. I can see that my Rockford branch was the biggest source, and then online was my biggest source, but behind that was my Rockford branch. And so there's a huge amount of capability not to just be looking at some end report or some end dashboard, but really be able to dig down deeper into the numbers to understand everything that's taking place within the credit union. Some deeper things that you can do, again, is we will do like GL reporting. So if I wanted to understand the actual financial reporting of what's taking place within the credit union, our access and ability to get you to the GL, we're able to turn things on like your automation of the call report, or again, just being able to do an analysis of what's your loan portfolio look like, those kinds of things. We can even do deep things like loan participation reports. So if I wanted to look at, who was specifically sourcing which specific kinds of loans and participating in them, we can do this kind of analysis. So really, there's almost no use case that we aren't able to do to be able to build up that kind of information to showcase everything that's taking place within your organization. At the deepest end of the pool is we also have a predictive analytics engine that will go in and do analysis like next best product, likelihood to attrite, and analyze all of that information to get that at your fingertips. So if you wanted to specifically have an end question like who would be most likely to open a personal loan, or who would be likely to open a CD, as you're maybe obsessed with deposits right now, we can get you that list and feed it over to your marketing team. So if I wanted to see across all of my members, which members would be most likely specifically to open a loan right now, I can get instantaneous access to that list. And then from there, you can deploy that out to have that understood for your marketing team. If you wanted to have like a special team within the credit union to be able to do just like calls out to your members, then this can automatically be assigned out to them, or facilitation of the onboarding process. So you can see we can give you that full complete picture of the member. You can see things like their loan application history, their likelihood to attrite, their credit score information. You can see account history. And then you can also see specific opportunities that are identified. To dive a little bit deeper into how we're doing that predictive analytics, we're going into the transaction table. We're going into the account balance history. We're going into effectively every unique attribute of the member. And typically, going back to that Ann Legg quote, there are hundreds of thousands of unique attributes about your member that our predictive analytics engine is able to go crawl through to be able to identify really specific, unique, valuable insights into that member for you to be able to really be able to turn that on for them so that it can be of greatest value as you're interacting with those specific members. And we don't just do that, we also do after action analysis. So we'll do an analysis afterwards to help train the model of, amongst those predictions, when they're served up to someone in the branches, or if they're served up through correlation, through key insight, or they're served up to marketing, what ended up being the result of that? Was it successful? Was it unsuccessful? Were we able to turn it into a new account? One of the big things that is an issue, I would say, on um, the marketing side is, typically the kinds of metrics that you get back from marketing are things like open rates or impressions. But we really close the loop on that kind of information, where we will actually show you whether or not marketing actions that we identified or separate campaigns that they specifically ran turned into true valuable results. And so this again is where we are closing that loop on data activation. So you can see all of the different marketing campaigns that took place by marketing type, and then you can see specifically what was the ROI. You can drill down to, like, if I wanted to just look at email campaigns, or if I wanted to look at a specific campaign, I would be able to see what the cost of that campaign was and what the end result is. And so again, when you think about any kind of system as you're utilizing data, you're going to want to have the system function in effectively a closed loop, where it's feeding back on itself to report not just that we identified opportunities, but how successful were those opportunities that we identified. Same thing with likelihood to attrite. If I wanted to do an analysis on which members are most at risk within the credit union, not only do we serve that up in something like an account dashboard, or being able to source that up through correlation, but we can also get you a high level. So again, if you wanted to have some internal team assigned to just going and looking at your most valuable products and memberships and being able to capture those, you can get that list specifically to go and target to them to be able to address that information and to be able to work with them. Let's go to just kind of a very different example, and this is for indirect lending, where we can turn our platform on so that your indirect lending team within the credit union can not just understand their end deliverables. So they wouldn't just understand what their loan applications to funding ratios look like, how individual contributors are bringing up the total end result, what their loan statistics look like, what their approved decline ratio looks like. And again, to be a broken record, we get the same drill down capability. So if I wanted to actually look at every single loan that was funding that, because this is a demo, not all of those work, but I can drill down to that underlying information, look at it hierarchically and historically. I can also look at my approved decline ratios. But we take it a step beyond that. So I can actually look at every single one of the dealerships, and I can understand the quality of the relationship of that dealer. And so I can make sure that my highest, most profitable dealerships are getting kind of the love and the nurturing that's most useful to them. My lower quality ones, I can try to nurture them. I can actually track and bring in a pipeline for new dealerships. So if I wanted to track dealers as they're coming in and to be able to manage them, I can do all of that through this single platform. To really be able to understand everything that's going on. If I wanted to look at every single touch that had happened with that dealer, or if I wanted to look at all of the loan applications that had come in, I'm able to do that. Or all of the end loans. If I wanted to actually see a list of every single loan that came in that was sourced through that dealer, I can get access to every piece of that information through this single platform, through this single end user experience. And again, what you'll notice is that I, as an executive, I don't have that same set of access here as someone that is in indirect lending, because we care about different things. I'm much more interested in kind of the high level performance metrics for the credit union. Now, if I'm somebody that's managing, let's say, like all of the branches and all of the locations within the credit union, I'm going to have a very different potential scorecard. And again, broken record on this. This will be configured for each one of our clients, so that you're not getting more data than you need and you're not getting less. You're really getting that sweet spot where you're not overwhelmed and you're not having to go back to IT or go back for additional requests to better understand that information. And instead of drilling down to like the hierarchy of the history viewer for this book Loan Dollar, I'll literally just get to a deeper level of a report that will show me each individual kind of loan and how that's specifically performing over time within the credit union. So again, there's a huge amount of capability depending on your specific end use case and who you are on exactly what your end dashboard will look like. So here I am as an MSR. And instead of having, 20 different metrics, these are just the metrics that are specifically related to my goals and my incentives. So you can see we fully automated the goal process and the incentive process, and we've deployed it out where your end MSRs or call center reps or anybody else are getting daily updates or potentially even more frequently as to their individual performance and how they're contributing. And again, I can drill down from here, but instead of getting lost into a hierarchy or a history viewer or drilling down to underlying data, I'm literally just going to get to a more detailed, deeper report where I can see, for each one of the new memberships that I opened, what was the specific account that was open, what ends up being that member cross-sell, what's the average balance, checking activity, and how each one of those specifically contributed to my overall performance against goal. And if I'm a branch manager, I'll get my branch performance metrics. And so I'll be able to see how, branch book loan dollars are different than an individual contributor. But what's really cool is I can come down here and I can see each one of my contributing MSRs or an MSR2. So over here, I'm Shoshona, and this is my individual contributor, but I'm the branch manager over Shoshona. So if I wanted to go and have a coaching session with her or just dive deeper, with one click, I can see the exact same dashboard that Shoshona is looking at to be able to have that discussion with her and talk through her performance in each one of these key areas. And as a credit union or like a retail level manager, I can see each one of my branches. I can see each one of my individual employees and how they're specifically contributing to that. So there's a lot of capability to make sure that the permission set is such that each user is getting the information that they need, and especially management as they're looking to activate that information and looking at end user adoption, looking at how effective the member understanding, the member dashboarding, all of that information is being deployed. We're really able to kind of showcase and highlight all of that for each one of our end users. And a couple other cool things that I'll kind of highlight here is here's one example of like an end member dashboard. So this is kind of that tip of the spear again, where I can look at all of my recent member interactions. I can see what happened kind of omni-channel. So not just what happened at the branch, but also what was happening through digital banking, what was happening through the call center. I can see how these were specifically being categorized. I can look at their survey score and their total account history. And I can drill down from here to get a deeper understanding of everything that's taking place specifically with that member. If I wanted to look at service utilization, so how much are they actually using their online banking or direct deposit, and are there specific opportunities about that? I can see all of that information. I can see next best product. So e-statement is something that our predictive analytics engine has identified that they would likely to start using. It's just and there's certain factors like maybe age that would shy away from them possibly being able to use e-statement. And then again, personal loan, and you'll be able to see the key factors that are specifically contributing to that end identification of that opportunity. But to just kind of highlight and showcase how dramatically different an opportunity can be from one specific client to another, or member dashboard from one specific client to another, let me show you a very different layout of effectively that same kind of information. Let's see if I can type. So this is effectively that same information, but you can see that it's laid out in a very different format because really our focus is to have the system be configured to the end user. There's this idea of if you're having to retrain your staff to be able to use a platform, then it's effectively failed. And so our platform really is designed, especially for frontline staff, where maybe in 10 or 15 minutes, they can understand everything that they need to do in the platform. And we have a 95% plus end user adoption rate because we're so successful at this. So you can see I've got the same kind of understanding of my service utilization, loan application, deposits, but it's laid out in a very different format. Some other things is instead of showing in kind of that front screen, I can come over here and I can see marketing campaigns that specifically touch the member or other information like that. I can see all of their open accounts. If there are family or other information specifically associated with that member, I'm getting access to all of that effectively through just this one single kind of pane of glass of understanding everything about the member. So a few other areas that I'll hit on is we'll go ahead and just dive a little bit deeper into kind of some of the other reports that we provide our clients with. And so I was showing you some, I would say more simplistic examples of some end user performance, but it really can get effectively kind of as deep as you want. So if you really wanted to dive into something like the end result of referrals, referrals can be a very tricky thing to define success on. As an example, if I have two MSRs that refer the same product to the same member a week apart, and that member opens two of those products, let's say it was a CD. So the member opens two CDs 3 weeks later. Do they both get credit? Does the first employee to refer get credit for both? Do I get credit, or does the first employee get credit for the first referral and the second employee gets credit for the second? And these are all toggles and switches that we'll configure for each one of our clients because there's not necessarily a right or a wrong answer, but there is a right or a wrong answer depending on your culture. And so the high configurability of our platform and the rapid deployment of that will get you these end metrics so you really understand the end performance, not just for a specific employee, but or a specific area, but all the way down to an end employee to understand exactly what's going on for them. Some other things that we can factor into their dashboarding are things like their survey scores. So if you wanted to understand how surveys are specifically performing and contributing to an overall score, we can get that factored in as well. You can effectively get kind of this one complete snapshot of everything that's going on across your organization to understand all of the different metrics, all of the end performance, everything that's taking place within your organization as things are being calculated and moved across. So those are kind of, I would say, the high level, examples of the different areas, the different things that we can do. For each one of our clients, we will spend maybe 2 or 3 hours really diving in deeply into any specific use case of how our platform is specifically being used to deploy that for them. I could spend, the next 45 minutes just talking about how we facilitate member problem resolution and how we can benchmark it against the CFPB and how we can automate the tracking of regulatory complaints and to be able to report that to you. Or as I said before, things like the general ledger access to be able to file your call report, or do a deep dive into how we can facilitate the onboarding of new members to make sure that the onboarding ends up being really successful for your team by not just having marketing do specific touches, but to have thank you cards or account reviews or relationship reviews or different kinds of more deep touches for certain kinds of members, or how we're able to, again, using the onboarding process or other analytics to turn an indirect member into a more direct full member of the credit union, so that when that indirect loan falls off your books, that you're not necessarily just losing that relationship, you really have gained a member for life, and using that as a great opportunity and kind of tip of the spear. We can talk about prospecting and how we'll track your commercial side of the house, or other areas within your organization to really be able to facilitate what's going on with seg management or your commercial team and commercial lending, and really getting that more holistic community focused that I would say is at the heart of credit unions, to really make sure that ends up being successful. So because our platform is so configurable, I'd love to just kind of open it up and dive deeper into kind of specific use cases or specific questions that people might have, and see what we can do for you all. Is there anything across, like, I know I speak quickly. I usually listen to podcasts in 2 to 3 times speed. But happy to dive deeper into any specific kinds of use cases or areas that would be useful to people as they'd like to see, and make sure that we're really able to get to that level of depth, and that's useful without going too deep that ends up being confusing. I saw a question about PSU. We are integrated with PSU, where we use that as a data source. Meridian Link, we've got a really good relationship with Meridian Link as well. Yeah, what other questions? Is there anything that people would like me to dive deeper on? Maybe like goals and incentives. I know that often ends up being kind of a very manual, cumbersome process. And we have yet to find a goal and incentive plan that we have not been able to automate and save a huge amount of time, really be able to make sure that when you're paying out goals and or incentives, and that you're setting goals, that it's doing what you want it to do. Because one of the worst things that an organization can do, and I think we're all familiar with that famous use case of Wells Fargo, where they were incenting their employees very aggressively for having very high cross sells, and it had the perverse incentive of effectively committing fraud across the organization. And so you do want to be very thoughtful and very strategic, but you also want to have a much tighter feedback loop to make sure that you aren't sacrificing member satisfaction for improved ROI or employee effectiveness or performance. So happy to dive deeper into that, or if there are any other specific use cases that that people would find useful to them. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit more, I guess, while we're waiting to see if some people have some questions about what it's like to work with us, and how we have such successful implementations, and how we've never lost a client. So, again, going back to my history, I've worked with a lot of software over my years, and I've seen it, and I've seen the reasons why it failed. I've seen the reasons why it ends up not being as useful as it could be. And if anyone's familiar with the Pareto principle of like the 80-20 principle, I've shown you a ton of stuff, and our complete platform does a ton of stuff. But we have certain clients where really they just have maybe 1 or 2 specific use cases to start. And we have a modular deployment where we can just focus on that very specific use case. So you're not paying for a bunch of things that the platform doesn't necessarily do for you. Or let's say that you maybe already had a data warehouse in place, or you've already got other pieces in place. Our platform is designed for very rapid improvement of, again, those 4 key areas of your credit union. And the way that we're able to do that is just fill in the gaps to make sure that you're able to get those very strong use cases. So Peter, we've got 3 correlation clients that are live today. As of this morning, or sorry, 2 live correlation clients today. The 3rd signed this morning. So they should be live within a month, within the platform.
Actually, it's 4. It's 4 now, Gordon.
Oh, I apologize. 4. Yeah, thank you for that, Bjorn. So we have not historically done fraud detection. We have a beta of that's going to be live as a beta in Q2 for fraud detection, time anomaly detection in those specific areas. So those are set to go live. Our predictive analytics engine is it's very good and effective. It's just a question of what we specifically target it for. Yeah, Crystal, we wouldn't forget about you. So. Yeah, so I mean, the good news about profitability monitoring is there are different levels to do calculations of profitability monitoring, and it really depends on each one of our clients on what their specific appetite for profitability monitoring is. So loan profitability monitoring is actually generally fairly straightforward, and that's definitely something that we can do. But we can even do profitability monitoring on things like deposit products. But again, it can be quite complex because if I'm calling into the call center a lot, that theoretically is a detraction from the overall profitability of that membership and what they've got going on. As far as the profitability figures come from, usually for each one of our clients, that's a collaboration with them to determine what their specific appetite is for how complex that profitability calculation can be determined. And that was a question from Jonah and Nick on that specific side of things. So a couple other things to highlight on what it's like to work with us. I talked about this a little bit before, where we can fully manage, or our clients can manage as much of the platform as they want. So we have some clients where it's fully outsourced, it's completely white glove. We have other clients where they do a lot of the implementation and management internal to their team. And that's completely up to each one of our clients where they would like to be kind of in that spectrum. But really the focus is making sure that it's successful. I view really good software as kind of like a garden where, if I know that I need fruit and I need other things for my garden to have it grow and be successful, buying a piece of software is often kind of just like buying the piece of ground that you're going to have the garden in. And then a huge piece on whether it's successful or not is who's tending the garden, who's managing the garden. And something that's very unique about us, a lot of companies out there, they either don't own the software, or if they own the software, they will not give you access to the actual developers that develop the software to interact with them. There's just kind of some weird, crazy reason where you'll generally be dealing with kind of some front end person that will say, I'll create a ticket and we'll worry about that 3 months from now. Our implementation engineers are the actual full stack developers that code our platform. And so you should never be in a position where our platform has the ability to do something and you're just talking with the wrong person. You should always be talking with someone that has the ability to execute on that. And that's how we get things out the door so quickly. And that's how we have such high client satisfaction across all of our clients. So again and again and again, if you think about what it's like to deal with bad software or bad companies that sell software, I probably have very similar stories from my background, which is why when we started this company, we started it in a very thoughtful, strategic way to make sure that we weren't putting our clients in that same position. And that's the same reason why we are a QSO. And we started the QSO is because another big problem that you'll find with a lot of software companies is they're actually beholden to their investors rather than their clients. And the good news for us is our clients and our investors are the same people. So we're never going to be getting pressure from our investors to do things that would be harmful to our clients. There should be complete synergy and of focus on our part between us and our clients to make sure that our platform is constantly being developed in a way that's going to be useful and strategically valuable to each one of them. What other questions do people have? Okay, well, I think you all have our contact information to be able to reach out to us. I've got a bunch of very capable people on the call, including Bjorn, James, and Taylor, who head up our sales. And then I as well, you should have my contact information. I'm happy to kind of chat or dig deeper into anything or any questions that anyone has. As Bud said, we've got a really good, strong partnership with Corelation. One of the things that I should highlight is because of our partnership with Corelation, a lot of the clicking around that I've done is unnecessary to get to those end dashboards. Effectively, you're going to be able to instantaneously go directly from Corelation over to our platform to be able to see those end reports, the end metrics, the end dashboards that are going to be useful to you and your team. Because every click is just one additional reduction of the likelihood of someone being able to see what they need to see and when they need to see it. And so our goal is for any end user to, within 3 clicks, but ideally as little as 1 click, to get to 90 to 95% of what they need to know to be able to do their job more effectively as they're serving the members, as they're achieving the goals and the cultural expectations of the credit union. Sweet. Yeah. So Bjorn just pasted into the chat all of our contact info. So look forward to having a lot of hopefully productive follow-up conversations with you all as you think about your data journey and you think about this. You know, again, to just bring things full circle. Every credit union has an insane of super valuable information to be able to better serve their members, to be able to better empower their employees. And what we do as a company, and I think this very much philosophically fits in line with what Corelation does, is we're looking to help you achieve those goals. We're looking to help you to be able to do that by the utilization of your data, by turning it into actionable insights and then actually facilitating the action from there. So I appreciate all of your time and look forward to follow-up conversations and any additional questions or anything else that anyone might have from there.
I will be posting this webinar recording as well. So people, if you
Perfect.
want to go back out and look at it, we'll be posting it.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you everybody for your time and hopefully you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Gordon.
Thanks all.